stand as you're able and join me in the call to worship that you will find printed in your worship guide. God of mercy, gather us in as your people this day. God of justice, melt our vision into your desire for wholeness for all of your creation. God of love, bind us to you as we seek deeper connections with others. Living God, God of our living and of our dying, to you we come to offer our gratitude for this life and our life beyond this life. We pray that in these moments of worship, we may open our minds and hearts to experience the love and care that you have for each of us. May your peace that brings wholeness and healing to our living surround each of us in our remembering and in our grieving of our beloved Tom. God of our living, God of our dying, and God of our life after death, comfort us now with your generosity of love and grace as we worship this hour. Amen. You may be seated.
We gather today in celebration of the life of Tom Henderson and to marvel together at the grace that allowed our lives to be touched by his. An adventurer and outdoorsman, a writer and poet, a musician and saxophonist, a scientist and chemist, an embodied storyteller, a citizen of the world, a father and friend, a husband and partner. Tom contained multitudes. And whether you've known him a short time or the whole span of your life, you are here because you have been marked by your encounter with him. I know I have been. Over the last couple of years, I have had the privilege of journeying with Jenny and Tom. I have watched them minister to our most vulnerable neighbors, nourishing them in body and in soul through a shared meal and live music. I've crowded in their living room with friends from near and far, many of you here, to offer a blessing for their home. I've been welcomed for years now into the anticipation of love's inbreaking into our world through their leadership of our Advent candlelight services, a gift to our worshiping community. And even in hospital rooms and in private conversations, I have been awed by their unflinching courage in the face of death itself. Tom was fearless and gentle. As we talked about the end of life especially, he boasted an embodied wisdom that I can only describe as a soul-deep stillness, and I will never forget it. There's a great line that Betty White's mother would offer to her on the occasion of someone's death. "Now they know the secret," she would say. "Now they know the secret." What a beautiful framing of this mystery at life's end. But I'm telling you, I think that Tom Henderson knew the secret long before. Something of Tom's orientation to life seems to me to boast an open secret. His grounded presence, his unapologetic embodiment, his deep attentiveness, his posture of open invitation to others at all times, his quickness to laugh and smile. Yes, I think all along that Tom has been relishing in the secret, that mystery of grace, that heart forwardness that makes life worth living, and that, yes, puts to flight all fears of death. So we gather today to celebrate a life well lived and a soul well loved, to mark ourselves along this shared journey of loss and remembrance, to offer our memories and their attendant laughter and tears to one another. In gratitude for Tom Henderson, let us now offer our worship to the mystery of love and life that binds us all, even the living and the dead. Join me now, if you will, in the litany of thanksgiving found in your worship guide. Life is a gift. Laugh a lot and cry often, for both come from the same cup. The purpose of life is not to be happy, but to make a difference. Show gratitude that you have been loved deeply by the people you have been lucky enough to love also. speak daily your wow, what a planet. And finally, when death comes, be full of gratitude and with hope that every human being will know the love with which Tom loved and was loved and is loved.
Let me offer up a Cliff Notes version of what this contraption is. January 18th, got up in the middle of the night, as we older men tend to do, and fell, fractured a vertebrae and a whole bunch of ribs. Spent 4 days at Wake Med. Have been healing for the past month. Have another month with this thing, not able to drive. And I think I can almost hear my brother Tom say to the men in the men's group that will be on retreat in 2 weeks, Hilbert has really gone over the top this time to avoid the 1 hour of work. Be truthful. The text, the sacred reading, I'm interested that was rated as a sacred reading from Tennyson of Ulysses. I'm going to invite you to one option of listening. A covenant community, whether it's scripture or more contemporary versions, we invite people to listen for the one word or one phrase that kind of rises up to touch you, your word. Just listen for that. There's no rush. There might be a gift hiding here. It little profits that an idle king on this still hearth among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I met and dole unequal laws unto a savage race that hoard and sleep and feed and know not me. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I've enjoyed greatly, had suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone. On shore, and when through scudding drifts, the reigning Hades vexed the dim sea, I am become a name, for always roaming with a hungry heart. Much have I seen and known, cities of men and manners, climates, councils, governments, myself not least, but honored of them all, and drunk delight of battle with my peers. For on the ringing plains of windy Troy, I am a part of all that I have met. Yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that untraveled world, whose margin fades. Forever and forever when I move, how dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use, as though to breathe were life. Life piled on, life were all too little. And of one to me, little remains, but every hour is saved. From that eternal silence, something more, a bringer of new things, and vile it were for some 3 sons to store and hoard myself. And this gray spirit yearning in desire to follow knowledge like a sinking star beyond the outmost bound of human thought. This is my son, mine own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle, well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labor by slow prudence, to make mild a rugged people, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. Most blameless is he, centered in the sphere of common duties, decent, not to fail in offices of tenderness, and pay meet adoration to my household gods when I am gone. He works his work, I mine. There lies the port. The vessel pulls her sail. There gloom the dark, brood seas. My mariners, souls that have toiled and wrought and thought with me, that ever with a frolic welcome took the thunder and the sunshine, and opposed free hearts, free foreheads, you and I are old. Old age hath yet his honor and his toil. Death closes all, but something ere the end. Some work of noble naught may yet be done. Not unbecoming men that strove with gods. The lights begin to twinkle from the rocks. The long day wanes. The slow moon climbs the deep. Moans round with many voices. Come, my friends. 'Tis not too late to seek a newer world. Push off. And sitting well in order, smite the sounding furrows. For my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset. And the baths of all the western stars until I die. It may be that the gulfs will wash us down, it may be, we shall touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles whom we knew. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
I'm Sue Bass, Tom's cousin, and I'm going to read another poem. This is by Mary Oliver, and I understand that Tom particularly requested that it be read at the service, and it's so appropriate, as you will see. It's called When Death Comes. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps the purse shut. When death comes like the measles pox. When death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, that cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. I look upon time as no more than an idea, and I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending as all music does towards silence. And each body a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world.
place God calls you to is the place where your deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet. Listen to your life. See it for the fathomless mystery that it is. In the boredom and pain of it, no less than the excitement and gladness. For in your searching touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden. Heart of it. For in the last analysis, all moments are key moments. And life itself is grace. In the end, it's not what you do or say that matters, but how you love. In the end, it's not what you do or say that matters, but how you love. In the end, it's not what you do or say that matters, but how you love. How you love. How you love.
truth, my life, such a way that gives us breath, such a truth that ends all strife, such a life that killeth death. Come, my light, my feast, my strength, such a light that shows a feast, such a feast that mends in length, such a strength as makes his guest. Come, my joy, my love, my heart, such a joy as none can move, such a love as none can part, such a heart as joys in love.
If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have prophetic powers and understand all the mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. If I give away all I have, and if I deliver my body to be burned, but have not love, I gain nothing. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful. It is not arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrong, but rejoices in the right. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things. Love never fails.
For those of you who may not know me, I'm Meredith Henderson, Tom's oldest daughter. It's funny how your perspective of your parents changes as you get older yourself. First, they know everything, then they know nothing. Then you settle into seeing them as people with flaws and hurts and loves and strengths. And then you have memories. I have to tell you, I really struggled with what I wanted to say today. I'm not sure how to sum up all the things that my dad meant to me. So I thought I would share some of those memories with you that reveal a little bit about who my dad was for me. Dad was really smart. He had a PhD in organic chemistry. He worked as a research chemist as his first career. And lots of time spent in his lab at Burroughs Wellcome still didn't make me a scientist or to learn to love science. But he didn't stop learning when he finished school. He read a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, sometimes he read books that I would consider sort of books for fun, mysteries, thrillers. But he also read big idea books, and then he liked to discuss them. He really didn't pass the science gene on to me, but we did share a love of reading and ideas. Dad and I were both introverts and relished the quiet moments together. I didn't always get to go on vacation with him, but when I did, I would often creep from my room very early in the morning, book in hand, to grab a cup of coffee and sit reading quietly. Inevitably, Dad was either already up, doing the same thing with book and coffee, or would join soon thereafter. We might spend some time reading together, or just sharing a quiet conversation before the rest of the family started stirring. Sometimes we were both doing the crossword puzzle, which is how I learned that we both sometimes timed ourselves. We also both shared an interest in genealogy and learning about and connecting to our family's roots. Pre-COVID, we would meet at his house for hours at a time to go through old family photographs and explore on ancestry together to see if we could match people and family stories. He built out quite an extensive and complicated family tree. During COVID, we started meeting on Zoom to do the same, and were able to also bring in my sister Erica in New Jersey into the conversation. It was fun to have the time to work on this shared interest together, figuring out the puzzle that is our family, but it was even better simply having the time together with him. Dad had a very irreverent sense of humor, and I think it may be the source of my attitude that there's nothing so awful that you can't eventually find humor in the situation. Dad's sense of humor, like my own, was often sarcastic, but he also loved a good pun, or even a groaner, and well-written comics in the paper. As a teen, I spent a lot of time with him watching British humor together on TV. Now, granted, we only had 4 channels, but we watched a lot of Fawlty Towers, Dave Allen, Monty Python, enough that we could often quote from them to each other. Dad was competitive, and he expected of you as well. He loved games, card games, word games, board games, and both playing and watching golf. I never could get into his passion for watching the Masters, but we did share a love of watching NC State basketball in the Cardiac Pack. And one of my favorite memories is watching the 1983 NCAA final with my dad. We had a tiny black and white TV and huddled in front of it together. We got down to the last seconds, and I just couldn't watch it. I buried my face in my hands. I just couldn't watch them lose. My dad kept his eyes on the screen and got to see Lorenzo Charles make that winning dunk. Suddenly, he's jumping up and down, running around the room and screaming. They did it! They did it! He took such joy in that win and in the competition. Dad had a really fun and creative side to him also. He loved music both listening and creating it, writing, interplay, and dancing. I loved listening to him play the saxophone at Starduster's performances, on his porch, or even just practicing. And when Darren and I got married, I asked my dad if he would take swing dancing lessons with me for that father-daughter dance. It took no convincing at all. And I loved having that time to connect with him, practicing and dancing. Early on, we messed up a lot, and we laughed a lot about it, but eventually everything clicked, and we could simply dance together and enjoy it. If you really messed up, you knew my dad had your back. When I was 18, I was driving home early one morning on Ebenezer Church Road after dropping my mom at work in one of the family cars so that I could use it that day. At the time, Ebenezer Church Road was a dirt road, and I, being 18, was maybe going a little too fast for the conditions. I ended up running off the road and flipping the car. Walking home, I was terrified. Tried to call my mom first, and she just said, "You need to call your dad. I cannot deal with this today." So I called him. He came home from work, drove me back up to look at the car. I think he was a little surprised at how bad it was. But he just called the tow truck and said, "You know, hun, we all mess up sometimes." Might have used a different word than mess up. So, you have to learn to forgive yourself. It's going to be okay. Dad could also be a little forgetful. In recent years, it was usually wondering where he had placed his ever-present cup of coffee. But when we were kids, there might have been a time, or several, that he forgot to pick up one of us from dance class. We teased him mercilessly for years afterwards, calling him the absent-minded professor. He might have also passed along the procrastination gene to me. I remember going with him in the car to the post office at Crabtree Valley late at night on April 15th because they would postmark your taxes until midnight. But I also remember that he stayed up very late one night when I was in the 6th grade to help me finish a giant model of a cell for science class. There's so many more memories that I could share, but I want to begin to wrap up my time with one for me that encompasses, in part, that my dad had so many different sides to him. At my grandmother's memorial service about 25 years ago, my dad made the perhaps mistaken word choice in sharing that he saw in his two daughters a scholar, me, and a poet, Erica. At the time, we were indignant. Erica spit out, "You mean you think I'm not smart?" And I snorted, "You mean you think I'm not creative?" In fact, a few years later, on his 60th birthday, we conspired to switch roles to express our thoughts in his honor for his birthday. I wrote a poem, maybe not the greatest, and Erica an academic essay. But now, as I look back on what he said with a different perspective, I have a different view. I think he was expressing that he saw both sides of himself, the creative side and the academic side, live on in his kids. And while maybe we lean more to one side or the other at different times in our lives, just as he did, both are there. And both are a way of continuing his legacy. Dad was working on a memoir over the past several years, and he closed it with a poem. I would like to close my remarks today with the first half of that poem. It was titled, "This Is What I Know." That this world is this world, not that one. One set of truths, and that their discovery is not the same as the truths themselves. That learning is a beautiful thing. and that a body comfortable in physical expression may have its own truth and is also beautiful. That all that seems perfect and wonderful may not be so, and that what seems foul and to be rejected may not be so. Respect it all. That I have far still to go in understanding all of this. That love is the most powerful force for change, and that I have loved well, yes, and been loved well. That I can love another to heart's breaking, and that joy is only possible because of loss. That it is hard to be depressed when running, harder still when walking, running, and stopping with others. That both the outer world and the inner world are beautiful, and whether or not we are alone, and whether or not there may be parallel states of being, and whether created or uncreated, these billions of stars that are ours are beautiful. That the cherry and the dogwood and the cedar are lovely. And John Coltrane, Bella the cat, and also the blank grid of the Times crossword puzzle on Sunday, empty, waiting.
I am Amy Crum, the youngest, saying of the daughters. Tom was many things to many people. A son, a father, a husband, a friend, and to me, a stepdad. Being a dad can be tricky at the best of times. But the role of stepdad comes with its own unique challenges. Some might wonder how much of the dad can you put into being a stepdad? Should you act like a parent, a friend, or a teacher? I have no idea how Tom figured all of that out. But I do know that I never considered him a stepdad. Tom was my bonus dad. Because it's not the word before the parent's title, biological, half, foster, adoptive, step, that defines it, but rather the love and dedication of that person. If I could sing, this is where I would do it. But I can't, even though Tom and every interplayer in this room would disagree with me on that. I will choose not to sing, but instead share with you a song that represents how I feel about having Tom in my life, and that song is For Good from the musical Wicked. I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know I'm who I am today because I knew you. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, Tom, I have been changed for good. Tom's passing is a profound loss for all who loved him. A while back, I heard someone say that the Apache believe that when you love someone, you trade a piece of your soul with them. They get a piece of yours, and you get a piece of theirs. When your loved one passes, a little piece of you dies with them, and that's why it hurts so much. But that little piece of their soul is still inside you, and they can use that to see the world through your eyes. I intend to carry Tom with me through life's milestones, allowing him to witness through me my first trip to Europe with my mom later this year. Zach, my eldest, finding his path and strength in his own time and his own way, just the way Papa would have wanted. Jackson, Sarah's youngest, graduating from college later this year. Jacob, figuring out exactly how he's going to use that ginormous brain of his, maybe to make the world a better place. We'll see. And maybe one day Tom will even get to see his grandchildren, who are currently distant, find their way back to our family. His daughters flourishing and supporting each other. His sons-in-laws continuing to cherish and love his daughters. And maybe someday great-grandchildren way, way, way in the future. Tom's capacity for deep love means he has left a piece of himself with so many people here. While his passing brings all of us pain, it also means that Tom can continue to experience the world through all of our eyes. In honoring Tom's memory, we grieve his absence and celebrate the enduring presence of his spirit that is in each of us. I hope you all carry him with you forward in all you do.
Hello, my name is George Edens, and I'm a friend of Tom Henderson's. Now, I said that in the present tense because Tom is so present with me, to say it any other way just wouldn't feel right. I will be a friend of Tom Henderson's for a long time to come. I'm honored to be asked today to say a few words about one of Tom's great loves and also one of his most important legacies. The first real conversation I had with Tom was about 25 years ago. And the last one was just a few weeks before he died. And in both of those conversations, he wanted to talk about the men's group, his men's groups. There are two groups. So around 35 years ago, Tom and two friends decided that there was a need for an informal gathering of men who would meet on a regular basis and share a meal and also share whatever was going on in their lives, good or not so good. Well, this gathering of men still exists 35 years later. It exists primarily because of two sacrosanct rules. Now, there's very little structure around this group of men. But there were two things that were very important, and one was confidentiality. Whatever was talked about stayed in that room. And the other was when someone was sharing, when they were talking about their lives, the ones who were not talking, their job was to listen, and to listen with intention. It was not to fix the problem that the speaker might have. I think our natural tendency is to come up with these ideas that would fix the person. That wasn't it. Sometimes the speaker would say they would welcome help, but they had to ask for it. But they had a place to speak openly in a safe place. Although I never knew for sure, I think those rules might have come from Tom, because that embodied Tom. If you ever had a conversation with Tom, you knew you were listened to, and he didn't try to fix you. He honored what you were saying. And this was reflected in the men's group. Tom introduced me to this group after about 10 years, so that was 25 years ago. And the group continues. We miss Tom terribly. Only one of the original members, Chuck Oglesby, survives living in Texas, and he connects with us occasionally by phone or FaceTime. Now, the second group came along for Tom about 15 years ago, and it had already been in existence for a few years when Tom became a part of it. And then a few years after that, he introduced me to that group. And a lot of similarities in the two groups, but the difference is the first group met monthly at a member's house. This second group is a retreat group that meets twice a year. And Tom immediately became part of the sort of the leadership of this group, became part of what's called the planning group. That planning group was just a few members, developed the themes for the weekends, led discussion groups, and kind of provided general management. Tom also had a profound effect on this group as well. But I want to close by talking about the effect that Tom had on both of these groups in his last years. As you know, Tom experienced a lot of serious illnesses over several years. Each one seemed to get worse than the one before. And in his final months, Tom demonstrated to us what he had learned from good friends who had predeceased him, good friends in both groups. And I paid attention to what Ian was describing, how Tom dealt with his last months, and he did it so well, I won't try to do it again. But I will say that Tom's courage and resilience during those years, or during those months particularly, was so meaningful to all of us. And what Tom demonstrated to us in a word was how to live fully while you're dying. What a gift. will all take with us. Thank you, Tom.
Hello, I am Kate Amos, and this is my husband, Billy, and we are friends of Tom and Ginny. I like George's use of the present. Billy and I first met Tom when he and Ginny traveled to the Washington, D.C. area in 2003 with the North Carolina Interplay Ensemble Off the Deep End. Witnessing a Saturday night performance, we were in awe of what could be created in the moment. In a seemingly simple group movement called Walk, Stop, Run, I can still see Tom accelerating and decelerating, weaving a pulse through the flow of the other movers on the stage. Tom inspired confidence as he held the space. He had the rare ability to shine the light on others, even as he caught the light himself. Tom had the quiet glow of an opal. Anyone who knew him experienced a slightly different reflection of his luminescence, as we can see from all the stories we've heard today. He was a dear, dear friend, a phenomenal interplay ambassador and leader, a scientist, a true partner to his wife, Ginny, a caring father, a poet, a dancer, a storyteller, a lover of ice cream, a voracious reader, a genealogist, a traveler, a golfer, and a talented saxophonist. He had an easy sense of humor. On an arduous canoe trip into the boundary waters of Minnesota, he brought one book, a collection of groan-worthy jokes. A priest, a cowboy, and a llama walk into a bar. "What is this?" the bartender exclaims. "A joke?" The joke book aside, I have so many good memories of our time in the Boundary Waters. 4 of us put in at the landing of Snowbank Lake one cool sunny day in June. Tom and his friend George, who you just heard from, were picture perfect in their canoe, wearing their coordinated tans and browns as if they were paddling across the cover of Field and Stream magazine. My friend Kathy Ann and I were more of a motley crew in our mismatched purples, reds, and greens. The word grace comes to me. Tom's presence brought a quality of grace to our time in the wilderness. He had a steady appreciation for the majesty of the mix of sky, water, rocks, and pines. He also had a capacity for wordless encouragement. I remember some really challenging moments when I did not think I could carry the pack, the canoe, or whatever it was that I was trying to carry. One more step. And Tom would give me a nod of acknowledgement as if he could see my struggle. And somehow that was all he needed so that I could keep on going. I think he did that for many of us.
Tom was so comfortable in his own skin, and that is the thing that made him such a remarkable interplay leader. For example, he was a master of the interplay storytelling forms, which combined dance and words. As Tom danced across the floor, he would skillfully unspool the thread of his narrative and hold his witnesses spellbound. Regardless of whether the topic was about the challenges of aging, the imponderables of string theory, or the curious behavior of backyard squirrels. Tom was fully committed to bringing more men into interplay, recognizing its power to create a safe space for self-expression, contact, and affirmation, so absent from the narrow norms of masculinity. In 2006, Tom and I held our first Interplay Men's Retreat, a weekend residential retreat that forever changed the world. Well, no, I guess it didn't. Not quite, but the retreat left no doubt that the body-centered forms of interplay created trust and allowed so-called ordinary guys to be extraordinary. These Interplay Men's Retreats became an annual event. Every year, Tom and I would decide which one of us would lead the different interplay forms. But when it came time to teaching men how to dance improvisationally, I always insisted that he lead that. He would start by having guys do simple things, like moving one hand up and down, slowly, smoothly, jerkily, and then gradually engage the rest of their bodies. Pretty soon, the whole group of 20 or so men would be dancing with ease and great delight through the room, as if they were discovering and claiming a new way of moving their bodies that only moments before seemed off limits, reserved for the very talented dancers. Tom had his own particular dance move. His arm would swirl forward and down, creating the impetus for a graceful, sure-footed turn. His gaze would be outward, curious, and delighting. The move had the beautiful, embodied energy of an infinity sign, radiating forever into space. Tom knew who he was. Your memory, Tom, is alive in our hearts. And in our grief, we are deeply grateful to have known and loved you.
I'm Erica Henderson Smith. My sisters always make me go last at these things, which I do not necessarily appreciate, but there you have it. Not too long ago, when my mother was sick, I had an argument with her that my father overheard, and he said, "Don't be so mean to your mother." And I said, if I wasn't, she wouldn't know who I was. So if I didn't tease my dad a little bit here, he might not know who was talking. My dad was a very serious man, but he also had a silly side and a very dry sense of humor. So as a young child, sometimes I didn't know he was joking. I remember coming home with my report card in hand, and I had an A- in a class. My dad looked at me, looked at the A-, deadpan expression. Well, there's room for improvement, isn't there? In complete disbelief, I stared back at him. Then he winked, smiled, and told me how proud he was of me. He was also the kind of dad who would play vicious games of Risk with you and your sister, sometimes into the wee hours of the night. Sometimes the game would last for days. And when he would undoubtedly win, he would celebrate doing a happy dance, to which I replied, "I'm 8. How am I supposed to know about invading countries?" He would always say, "There are no gimmies in this house, Erica. You have to earn the win, so learn the game better." The other half of my sister's car accident story is when I asked him to show me where she had gone off the road. He obliged, and while we were driving, he went off the road in the exact same spot. We had to get the car towed, and we walked home. Anytime anyone ever brought that up, he denied it. That never happened. Yes, it did. No, I don't recall that happening. My dad was a man of contradictions sometimes. He would not allow us to have Peter Pan peanut butter in the house. Instead, we had Smucker's natural peanut butter that you had to store in the refrigerator that would become hard overnight, and you would have to stir it. But every Sunday after church, he would take us to Baskin Robbins because my father's favorite thing was ice cream. All 31 flavors. We didn't have color TV or cable. This was the MTV age. I remember having to go to my neighbor's house to watch the MTV Top 20 countdown every morning before school. we watched the last episode of MASH on a 13-inch black and white TV with poor reception. We went camping often. Real camping. Other kids went to Disney World. We went camping. Often, a rainstorm would catch us, and because we were in an old canvas tent, we would end up huddling in the middle of the tent while my father screamed, "Don't touch the sides! Don't touch the sides of the tent!" But he was also the guy who sang all of Billy Joel's greatest hits, Volume 1 and 2, on a trip to New York that was just me and him. He sang all the songs to Carole King's Tapestry album, especially You've Got a Friend. He had planned that trip for me and him, and it was during those horrible teenage years. My dad and I didn't always have the smoothest relationship, but he never stopped trying to get closer and to find common ground. When I was 15 years old, we were sitting in the parking garage at Crabtree Valley Mall, talking about whether or not I would go to the North Carolina School of the Arts for dance. He said, "Are you sure you want to do this? You're too smart to be a dancer." About 6 years later, I was a professional dancer in New York City when my dad and Ginny discovered Interplay and would eventually form Off the Deep End Ensemble, a performance group which included dancing. So not too bad for a guy with a PhD in organic chemistry who was definitely too smart to be a dancer, to become a dancer himself. I teased him about this for years, but my dad would always come back with, "Darlin', people can change. People can change their perspective on things." And that was the one thing about my dad. He continuously tried to understand himself, his relationships, and to make sure that those he loved knew they were loved and that he was listening. My dad taught me forgiveness, generosity of spirit, and that you always keep fighting to make things better by never letting go. My dad and I found ways to connect with one another through politics, parenthood, and writing. A few months ago, I was sending off a submission to a magazine I was hoping to get, and he said after he read my final draft, "I think you might be a better writer than me." I started to cry because that meant the world to me that he would say that. And then I heard this sentence again. Did he just say, "You might be a better writer"? Take those moments anyway. I was just happy that I had made him proud. And I realized that he really told me every day when he challenged me to do better and be better, because he led by example, which is the best a father can do. I will miss his smile, his music, his stories, his awful puns, and his infamous big hugs. And I will miss seeing him be the best papa to my son Jacob, who's lucky enough to have the middle name Thomas. My dad was an amazing writer. I was always curious why he did not seek out to publish his work. But I will read now the conclusion of the poem my sister started with earlier. that those we call animals to elevate ourselves are really just other animals and beautiful? Can we not be less arrogant? That we have enough, most of us, and more than enough. Can we not stop trying to take the few things from those who do not have enough? That we should stop our assault on the climate and on other countries, because our own country, our own lives, are not free of guilt or prejudice. Just stop. That I have never had cause to regret any act or thought of generosity, but only those times when I was not generous. That I am sorry to leave this world where heaven and hell exist and only here exist. That I am sorry to leave this world to my children and grandchildren, and glad also, and that I will to them the beauty here now. Do not waste much time in mourning. Look, see, create, choose joy.
Well, these guys get set up. I just wanted to say a couple words. I chose this song because this song reminds me of Tom. He loved the outdoors. He loved camping. He loved hiking. He loved the beach. He loved golf. We played a lot of golf together. So that's why I chose the song. I asked Darren and Jim to help me with it because we're the son-in-laws. And I thought they all play guitar, and I thought it would sound better with 3 guitars. But I am going to need help singing it, and that's where you guys come in, because I can't sing. So the words are in the bulletin. Keep your eyes on me. I'll tell you when to start with Almost Heaven, and we'll go for it, all right? Thank you.
In the years that I knew Tom, he lived life with eyes wide open. So I invite you, as we hear this prayer, to hold your eyes wide open. Of course, if you'd like, you can close your eyes too. Let us gather our memories and our love for Tom and hold him tightly in our hearts together. O great mystery, in whom we live and move and have our being, we are grateful for Tom Henderson, grandfather, father, bonus father, husband. We have been blessed by Tom, the interplayer, the colleague, servant leader, scientist, jester, saxophone player, lithe mover, improviser, poet, letter writer, great hugger, laugher, friend, and more. Many of us share our gratefulness to have learned from Tom such words and phrases as movement, shape, stillness, hand dance, walk, stop, run, dance on behalf of, soft focus, noticings, contact, big body stories, side-by-side stories, babbling, and others. These words and practices nourished and continue to nourish our spirits. Poland Memorial Baptist Church has been enriched by Tom's participation in the orchestra, spirit movers, worship in the round table fellowship, and other visible and less visible ways. We have been enriched and gratefully hold our memories. We are thankful for the individual and communal memories we hold of Tom. Memories of making music with Tom or enjoying the music he shared. Memories of contact with Tom during interplay retreats. Memories of deep conversations. Memories of mussing each other's hair. And for so many other memories that we each hold, we are thankful. We are thankful for Tom's partnership with Ginny. Together they created and leave a lasting legacy of creativity, compassion, retreats, deep spirituality, community, meaning, and body wisdom. In our hearts, may we dance on behalf of Ginny. And so now, with thanksgiving, let us gratefully release Tom into the great mystery of stillness off the deep end. Amen.
of Jenny and Tom's children and their extended family, I want to thank you for being here today with them in this beautiful celebration and remembrance of Tom and his life and his living. They would like to extend this time with you in the fellowship hall immediately following our postlude to continue to share our memories and our laughter and our tears with one another, and to continue to wrap our arms around Jenny and this family in these days of grief and gratitude. So please join us in Finlater Hall for a reception following the benediction. Hear now this benediction. Go in peace, remembering that by the goodness of God you were born, by the grace of God you are kept all your days, and by the love of God you are redeemed. Go in peace.